there's some very simple, non-invasive tests that you can revisit to see the efficacy of your intervention. And that's a really important point. So the first one that I use is the hip to waist ratio, meaning, and I'll talk about it a little bit more, I'll explain it. When you measure your hip and when you measure your waist, if your waist is bigger than your hip, you've got problems coming. Research suggests. Okay, do everything you can now. Second one is the one that I'm most excited about. It's called heart rate variability. And the process is each morning you wake up, you clip a very sensitive heart rate monitor to your ear, you lay there for 3 minutes, and that via a formula, it measures your heart rate variability. And what that literally means is, for the first time, I can quantify your stress loads. It's a measurement of your stress loads. There's fight or flight, which is sympathetic stress, and then there's the rest, digest, regenerate, and that is the parasympathetic. I can measure via that 3 minutes every morning. I can get a metric that tells me, you know what, you're deep in overload, we need to back off, or there needs to be an intervention. Or, you know what, you're totally under stressed, put up, you need to have a bit more of a go. And you can't hide from the numbers. So the great thing is it's non-invasive and it's measurable. The hip to waist is really simple. I'll run you through it because I really like it, not in the break. Don't go out and go and take it and go, oh no, can't believe it, my waist is bigger. But the reason why I do put this in is use your eyes when you go back to your organisation, and if there's key people, honestly, if there's key people, when we look at the costs of replacing key staff members, and if we look at the amount of time that they spend away, okay, it doesn't just affect them as an individual, because just say if I'm someone who's high up in an organisation, and I'm away, well then that's going to affect 2 or other 3 people to make up for what I have to do as well. So there's an individual cost, but then there's a collective cost. And signs that are indicative of increased absenteeism due to ill health, hip to waist. So literally how it goes, you stand, you measure your waist, my hips are about 1 metre, my waist is about 85 centimetres. I'm going to be okay. Hope so, I better embody my message or I'm not going to be very successful. And that works well for men. If you're a man and you measure with your feet together and you measure your hips, and then your waist is more than 95 centimetres. So your hips are 1 metre, your waist is 95 centimetres. Anything above that, there's an increased health risk. With girls, your hips are a little bit wider due to childbirth, good for you. So don't worry about it, your hips are naturally supposed to be bigger. It's above 85 centimetres, so 85% of your waist. Before beginning a program of physical inactivity, you better have your doctor's phone number on hand because sedentary living is dangerous. Like the cigarettes were to the 80s and the 90s, the chair is to this decade. Next year, I believe, I'm not sure yet, but I'm campaigning, there's going to be this big sign on the back of the chair that says, warning, sitting is dangerous for your health. Continued sitting gives an increased likelihood of back pain, obesity, and all the things that go with obesity. And then let's see if that happens next year. But you heard it first. It's the first one what I'm most passionate about. It's movement, exercise. But one thing that's been consistent over the past couple of years is something called, the acronym is HIIT. HIIT, high intensity interval training. What that does to the body, it teaches the body to rhythmically expend energy, which is easy for us. Stress is easy. Stress is when energy comes away from the body. Recovery is when we recapture energy. That's a skill that we can get better at. So high intensity interval training is where we rhythmically pulse. You know what, for 30 seconds, I'm going to go really hard. I can see the finish line. 30 seconds, I can manage that. Okay, cool. This isn't a marathon. I can't see the finish line. It's really hard for me to continuously push myself if I don't know where the finish line is. But if I create a boundary and say, hey, you know what? For 30 seconds, you're going to go all out. And I'll obviously put you in a safe environment. One of the best is a seated bike. Literally, science is the ivory tower. The road is where the application from science hits the road. So we want to go from the ivory tower to the footpath, and that literally is, in many occasions, sitting in a seated bike and push it like crazy for 30 seconds and then recover for 90 seconds. Repeat that up to 8 times. You're going to be in good hands, because here's what the research says to that. In this research, it showed that 2 to 3 minutes of high intensity exercise, not in one phase, think of in 30 seconds or 45 seconds, coupled with recovery, when you did that, and the amount of high intensity, the stress, was 2 to 3 minutes, the response in the body was the equivalent of that of 90 to 120 minutes. So you just lost your biggest excuse. What's the biggest excuse why people don't exercise? Damn it, I don't have the time to do that. Truth is, you don't have the time not to do that. But most people will say, you know what, I just don't have the time. How's this for an equation? 168 hours in a week. If you can invest 4 times 30 minutes, and 30 minutes will include a warm-up, a cool-down, and a shower in this example. If you can invest 4 times 30 minutes, 4 times 30 minutes is 2 hours. 2 hours as a percentage of 168 hours is 1.19%. 1.19%. Thank you very much to the mathematician. It is. It's 1.19%. Do you have 1.19% of your time to invest that the return will be, you know what, I've just got more energy when I go to work today. You know what, I have more energy when I go home. And I'm even playing with my kids, or I'm playing sport, or I'm engaged in a hobby after work. Can you invest 1.19% of your time to do that? It's just here in the chair, everybody's like, of course I can. But out there, sometimes the equation gets a little bit clouded. The second bit of research, read that title. I'm sure they're about to make a movie about this, calling it exactly that. I'm not even going to read it out. But what it showed was that when you engage in high intensity interval training, and if you did it in the right way, meaning there was an interval, 30 seconds on, 90 seconds off, seek stress, train recovery. Teach your body how to recover like an athlete. When you do that, the response from the body was a great release of antioxidants that vastly outperformed endurance exercise. But then if we go down to the next paragraph, it becomes even more exciting, because not only does it's very effective with body composition change. People are, it's cool to be worried about what you look like. That's very good. I'd be without a job if you didn't. But also it excels at protecting the heart. So it buffers your ability to handle stress via the heart's perspective. And then the last one, we go from the heart to the brain. And this is really exciting. From the perspective of neuroscience, there's been over 300 researched studies in the past year, and it continues to increase on the benefits of exercise and how it can buffer the stress threshold. It's called, and they've termed it stress inoculation. So at the start of winter, you go to the doctor and you get a flu inoculation. And what that does, the doctor injects a manageable strain of the flu, and then your body builds up resilience to that, because it's like, oh, I can handle this. And then it buffers your flu threshold. What exercise, especially high intensity interval training, it does exactly the same thing, but for the brain. When you inject 30 seconds of stress and then you teach the body to recover, it literally buffers your stress threshold. The brain adapts to that and becomes better at handling stress.